Hello and welcome to another episode of The Hollywood Knitter. My name is Allison and I'm recording from my home in Los Angeles, California on Friday, October 4th, 2019. How is everyone doing? It is finally starting to feel a little fallish here, just a wee bit. I actually, this morning, took the time. I was cold the last 2 nights, so it was time to move from my summer coverlet and put on my heavier winter blanket, which I'm sure now, of course, I will be the other way and I'll be too hot under the blanket, but it will be nice to curl up and be cozy in a nice coverlet. Or it's not a coverlet, it's a duvet. So I'm here to talk to you about FOs and whips and travels and what's going on in my life and share with you. I am sitting on my couch today. The light is it's already turned a little bit, so I decided to sit over here. So it's not the best lighting, but it's not bad. Let's get right into it. I have FOs for you. I've been monogamous, basically. The month of September, I was monogamous. I was trying, in my head, I had this goal of getting a shawl done, and that's what I wanted to primarily work on, and then socks, and I accomplished it. So I'm really, really happy about that. Let me show you the socks first. These are my Tits Collective sock that I made for my mother. They're actually very vibrant, the purple and the pink. It looks a little washed out in this light, but this was from, excuse me. This is from Ink Sheep Fibers in the Let's Not and Say We Did. And this is from the Tits Collective that was sponsored by Countess Ablaze last year, where a portion of the proceeds went to the dyer's charity of choice. And the colorway was all based on one Countess Blaze had done, and it was inspired. And so I wanted to support, and I bought a skein back then, and I thought that they made really fun vanilla socks for my mom. So it took me about a month to knit these, and I just did my normal toe up, as I said, toe up with a gusset and a turn, and yeah. Pretty happy with them. Typically, my socks are usually about 75 to 80% of a skein for my size, and my mom has my size foot, and I have a US 10, and so this is about 330 yards. So yeah. Happy with them. The other one was the big one I was working on, and this was a pattern I had my eye on for a very long time. It is from Stephen West, and one of the best tips someone gave me, because Stephen West's project photos that he puts out are very avant-garde, very crazy colors, very over the top, and someone says that his patterns, if you don't knit them in the crazy colors, are beautiful patterns. And sometimes when you're initially looking at all the crazy colors, if that's not your thing, you get turned off. But if you take a look through the pattern and the project pages and the so many colors people have done Stephen West in, his patterns are beautiful. And I had an opportunity to meet him last year or the year before and try on, and he's a wonderful person if you ever had a chance to meet him. Anyways, the pattern I've been working on is his eyeball shawl, because come on, it's right up my alley. And I love the shape of the shawl. It is longer, but then it comes to this kind of point. Obviously it's shaped like an eye. And then really easy to knit. You start off in the center and you go around and around, and then you pick up and do one side and then the other, and then it's a brioche border. And this was my first time doing so much brioche. And there are a few places where I mess up the brioche, and brioche is hard to fix, let me just say. I was knitting, I did like 2 rows of brioche, or 3 or 4, and I messed it up, and I tried to drop it down to fix it, and I made a bigger mess of it. So I ended up ripping out those 2 rows and redoing them. And then later on, because it's it's like 15 rows of brioche. I had noticed a mistake, and I tried to rip down and fix it, and I couldn't. I must have done some type of weird twisting. I was able to pick up a few stitches right, but where I was trying to drop down to fix it, I think I just twisted the yarn in some weird way that I couldn't pick up. Anyways, the yarn, the black is something I had in my stash. This is just Cascade Heritage. And this is the least soft of all the yarns because it is just a 75-25, and it is kind of comparatively, because the green is Julie Spins, and then this awesome, I love this color. Love it. This is Into the World, and they're both 80-10-10. So 80% wool, 10% merino, cashmere, and then 10% nylon. And so they're so much softer. But not only does it look great, but I love how it's going to wear. It is not going to be around my neck thing, but because of the shape of this, where it tapers off and becomes, you know, to this point, it is just like the best on your shoulder shawl. Like, I love it. Just like this. With the big eyeball in the back. It's awesome. In terms of yardage, about 50 grams of the black, 50 grams of the green, and then I used almost 2 full skeins of this. And I have a little bit left that I'm going to put into my blanket. And very few mods. The only mod I did is instead of doing a lifted increase for the eyeball, I did a knit front back, which it's kind of hard to pick up here, but it gave, actually, you can see the ring. So it almost created kind of the rings you have in your eye with that front back increase, which I really like. So yeah, I'm loving this. Love it so much. The yarn was actually, I've had it in my stash for a while, but the majority, the green and the Into the World, the white, I picked up when I went to the Loopy Use retreat 2 years ago. So I picked it up in Colorado, and it's been marinating in my stash. And I picked it up specifically for this project, so that was good. Other than that, I love it. I just love it so much. Obviously, I did green because it's the color of my eyes, and I love the colors I chose with the black. I think it's striking, awesome, and I'm totally just going to wear it with the big eyeball in the back. I'm also going to put a picture here where you can see where I'm standing. I took some pictures, were my FO pictures, so you can see what it looks like when I'm kind of standing with the big eyeball splayed. So this took me about a month. I started it August 24th and finished it on the 28th. So it took me a full month of, this was my at-home knitting project. And that was, time-wise, that was exactly what I guesstimated it would be. I wanted to finish it within a month. So I was really happy with that. This is one of my Make 9 projects. So I only have 2 Make 9 projects left, and I've cast on for both of them. So I think, what do I have, 3 months left in the year? Definitely going to finish in 2019 these other 2 projects, and I'm already starting to think about what I want to make in 2020, because I had pretty much, with the exception of socks and some little projects, at the beginning of the year, I matched yarn in my stash to projects and put them in my queue, and some of them were my Make 9, and then a few I have 1 or 2 others, and I've knit almost exclusively from that. So I really kind of like that idea. It makes me go through my stash. The moving into whips, I have worked on, I'm going to take this off. I, both in early August and this past week after I finished the shawl, I made a conscious effort to pick up my Linen Stitch blanket and work on it, and I haven't worked on it in a while. So I think it's been like March or April since I've last worked on it. So I haven't seen it in a while, but this is my never-ending Linen Stitch blanket, and it is fingering weight sock yarn scraps. It is approximately 60 inches wide, and I'm trying to make it 72 inches long, and I am up to 50 inches. So I'm over the halfway point. I'm at 70%. I cast on 500 stitches. I'm just doing Linen Stitch. I basically only knit the linen stitch in the knit stitch. So I basically knit across one row and then push them all back and knit across with another color. So every row is a different color. And then at the end, I'm just knotting them and cutting them. And so I'm gonna have a fringe blanket. And I put some markers in. Where are my markers? Yeah, here are my markers. One, the marker reminds me of which side is the right side. And then this is how much I've done since August. So I think it's like 6 or 7 inches. So here's the marker. So this is what I did in the beginning of August when I worked on it. And then this is what I've done the past week. And I have probably going to do another inch or two before I put it away again. I want to finish this blanket, but it is definitely slow going. I am almost 4 years into this blanket. Obviously, I pick it up and then put it down for months at a time. But every time I work on it, I love it. But it's tedious and it hurts my hands to do it a lot. Every row is about 1.2 grams and takes about 15 minutes for me to do across a row. So this is a lot of knitting, a lot of yarn, a lot of time into this blanket, and I'm going to love it so much when I'm done. It's like, because it's all fingering and it's linen stitch, it's very dense, looks great on both sides. This is like the Pearl Bunch side, and I am gonna love it. It's just, I gotta finish it. So it is living in my Knockers 2018 tote bag, which I love. Kind of just stuck it in there. And then when I am done, so say I finish, you know, I'm doing my sock yarn balls. So like I have little balls like this that I'm knitting from. And this one, I can tell I'll probably get like 8 or 9 rows out of it. When I'm done and I measure and I look like I have a ball that might be too small, I weigh it. And if it's under 1.5, because even though mine are coming in a little less than that, I don't want to, I have once or twice where I haven't gotten all the way to the end. And in those cases, I did not rip back, but it is not my preference to be weaving in the middle of this blanket. I then just magic knot. Let's see, I think this last one I had was a little, I'm magic knotting the remnants, which are anywhere, you know, from 0.5 grams to less. There it is. And just magic knotting them and then cutting them and then creating a crazy ball of sock scraps that I will then at some point make into a sock. And I think I'm actually already at like 40 grams and it is just going to be crazy. I'm not really sure how I'm going to like the knots, but we'll see. So at the end, I'm also going to have a beautiful, even smaller remnant sock scraps. Another reason I want to finish this blanket is because I'm already planning my next fingering weight blanket, and it's going to be crochet. And yeah, I'm going to use that to get through, because I have to go into my sock blanket, my scraps have to be small, so they're 20 grams or less. But I have some half balls, like from the black and things like that, and the green, where I have 50 grams of a sock yarn hanging around, and they've been hanging around for a while. So I think I'm going to then use those to create a crochet blanket that I won't let myself cast on until I finish this blanket. So that is my linen stitch blanket. You probably won't see it again for another few months. I think I'm going to probably get put away, but we'll see. In the meantime, this week and today, I'm having a cast on party. I've cast on 3 projects in the last, well, 2 projects last night. 1 project I'm going to cast on after this podcast. And then I have another skein wound up for later when I need it. In between, I've also been working on another pair of socks. When I finished my Tits Collective socks, I started another pair. And how I've been kind of picking my socks is I go to Ravelry and I have it sort by date added and find the oldest sock skeins in my stash. And I'm trying to work through my old stuff that way. So one of the ones that came up was from 2016, which goes to show my stash, some of the stuff marinating isn't that old for fingering. It's a beautiful yarn. I picked it up at Maryland Sheep and Wool. It's on the round everyday fingering, and it's in the After the Storm colorway. So it's got these great blacks and grays, and then these pops of little color. And the striping is not it's a flashing effect. It's not dyed to be striping. Now, this yarn though is toothy. It's 100% superwash wool, and it just feels like wool. And I'm used to, for my socks, all of my socks have a nylon content, and that adds a different weight to it. So when I started on it, I wasn't sure, and I went and I dithered. I started it more than once, and I'm like, I just wasn't liking how it felt knitting up. It wasn't going through my hands quickly, if that makes sense. But I decided to keep going, but after I did the turn of the heel, I decided to make these shorties. And what I did is I decided I wanted to do a turned cuff. And I liked how it turned out. It's a little kind of flappy, but it doesn't look that bad while on. Basically I did rib, did a purl row, turned it under, and then picked up and knitted the bind off with some purl bumps in the back on the inside of the sock to create a shorty set of really warm socks. And I'm already on the second one, over halfway on the foot, because I had some knitting time. So these are going to be for me, and I like them, and I have a 100% wool sock too from another yarn years ago, and they hold up extremely well. I just don't like knitting with this yarn. And no fault to the dye or anything. I just, for socks, I'm not liking it without a nylon content, I guess. But the colors are beautiful, and I liking the striping effect. So I will have these finished probably in the next week or so, because they're the shorties. I'm hoping to finish them before I leave on my trip next week. Or I'll just bring them on my trip and finish them there. I cast on another set of socks yesterday. Again, going into my oldest yarn, I came up with a sport weight. This is the, what was it? The Dragonfly Fibers Damsel, which is 100% merino, but a softer merino. And the Shazanzadi, I don't know how to say that. I had this in my stash for a while. I think this was actually given to me, or I picked up somewhere. I'm doing a free pattern called the Ducky Socks that apparently I had done in 2012, which I don't have those socks anymore, so I don't know what I did with them. And it's just an open kind of lacy repeat, really easy. And it's done on, obviously, thicker needles. So I'm doing these on a 2.75 millimeter needle. It's going to be like a 48 stitch count or 60. I don't know. I haven't gotten somewhere in between there. It's going to be less than my 72 that I usually do. And I've just got a wee bit toe, just a wee bit. So these are going to be going with me as some, not mindless, but once I'm into the pattern, it will be pretty easy to do. And I think I'm going to give these to my mom. I have so many socks that I can't keep any socks for me right now. Like, I have 30 pairs of socks. It's just kind of my max. I need to wear through some of my socks before I make myself some more. So I've decided my mom for the next foreseeable future will be my giftee for socks. So those are the Ducky Socks. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's been around for a long time. The other project I cast on is in a beautifully matching Fat Squirrel bag that I love. And this is also some yarn I've had in my stash for a while. That was, I can't even remember. I bought it at a Stockinette Zombie Retreat a few years ago. And this is Leading Men Fiber Arts, and they're Show Stealer colorways. And this is Foliage, which I love foliage colors, and Dippin' Dots. And I am doing a brioche shawl with this. It's called All About the Brioche by Lisa Hannes. And this is what it looks like. And I literally just barely cast on because I'm just having a cast on party. So I'm just getting everything kind of started, making sure the right needle sizes. So here's my very little, tiny little start. It's interesting because you're knitting from the tip and you're knitting out, and the way it's increasing, so it increases in a triangular shape and then straight across the top. It's different. It's a different type of knitting or for a shawl than I've done before. So I'm really gonna enjoy that. I love the colors. I really liked my brioche border, which is why I ended up going with this pattern. I was deciding between two patterns for this yarn, and I'm glad I went with the brioche because I really enjoyed knitting that brioche edging and the look of it on my eyeball shawl. So all about brioche. You will see more of it. It's coming with me. I already have too many projects coming with me on my trip. I know this. We'll see. Right now, I'm planning on the beginnings of a sweater, the shawl, and 2 pairs of socks. Which is probably more knitting than I need, but so it goes. Last project I have to show you that is not technically cast on yet, but which I have swatched and watched swatches for, is the Donner by Elizabeth Doherty. And it's just really great drapey sweater. And I'm doing it in Knit Picks Lindy Chain, which is a 70% linen, 30% cotton, and this is a plum colorway. It's kind of really like this. It's cool, like a cool gray. And I swatched and washed the swatches twice. And so this is swatch number 1 and my swatch number 2. And swatching is important because what I had to do is actually go up 2 needle sizes to get gauge and to get a fabric I liked. The on gauge, which I know this about myself, I usually do have to go up potentially a needle size because I knit tight. It's tighter, and then this is a much more looser, and you know, it's going to be a nice fabric. So I was pulling out needles. I actually pulled out, because I do almost everything on my ChiaoGoos interchangeable. But for this one, it was recommended that you use wooden tips. So I actually pulled out my old knit picks that I still have and all the cords and stuff for, and some bamboo. So I'm going to be knitting this with bamboo. I have 10 skeins, which is way more than I probably need. I think I'm going to need about 7. But I think I'm going to bring a few balls of this, and I have it in another fat squirrel bag because I love it. But I think I'm gonna consolidate into a smaller bag, and also to bring that and work on it. The pattern is really pretty simple, so it should be not mindless, but easy knitting. And then I have another sock that I haven't cast on for, and I won't. That is actually a lace sock in a solid color yarn from a new to me designer, Japanese designer that I bought the pattern for. That I have it already caked up, that after, when I need another project, I'll rotate it in. And that was another skein that I've had, again, one of my old fingering weight skeins. So that's kind of all of the knitting stuff I have right now. So I am up to 5 whips, which is more than I need, but that's okay. One of them is the blanket, so it doesn't really count because it's just, you know, the ongoing whip forever. News. So you may have seen another video before this one. I am doing Vlogtober, and that is where you do a little video log every day for the month of October. I just decided to do it because I have stuff going on in October, and it's my birthday month. It's a favorite month, and why not? So you don't need to watch them if you don't want to. They're going to be snippets of my life. They may or may not have knitting in them. I'm going to bundle, you know, a few days together at a time. And if you don't, that's fine. Everything knitting wise will be in a knitting podcast. And my next knitting podcast will probably be in November, probably after my birthday. What's been going on? I've been getting through a lot. I'm going to share my Netflix because I like when people share what they're reading and watching. So in the month of September, I watched the last season of Orange is the New Black, which was really good. It was a good send-off to that series. If you have not had a chance to watch it, it's on Netflix, and it takes place in a correctional institute and follows the lives of various characters. It's a huge ensemble, and it was just really well done. There were some tears, there were some good things and some bad things, but really, really good. We also, the boyfriend and I, watched this Netflix show called Family Business, and it's actually a French show. So we do watch foreign language shows, usually with just subtitles on. Spanish ones he understands, but I don't like to have it dubbed in English. It bothers me to not see the lips matching up to the sounds. So we always watch it subtitled. But anyways, this one was about a family in France that had owned a butcher shop and were trying to transition into a new business. And it was the father, the son, and the daughter, and they decided to start growing marijuana because it was going to become legalized in France. And it follows the ups and downs of this crazy family, and it was only like 6 or 8 episodes, like 35-minute episodes, and it was really funny. It was just very comedic. So if you're into looking at pretty funny shows, the family interactions, it was the grandmother who actually grew it, and it was great. It was very funny. And there's going to be another season, which is nice. I also did the latest season of Glow, which is Glorious Ladies of Wrestling. Another great female ensemble show. Very strong characters, and you gotta love a show that is ethnically diverse and female, and about the empowerment of being female and the trials and tribulations of trying to work in this world. And it's also very well done, excellent acting, really great writing. And then the last one I watched was In the Dark, which is a story about a blind woman whose friend is murdered, and she basically does her own investigation. That one I enjoyed it, but she's a very abrasive character. Some of it is she's just abrasive, and that's not everyone's cup of tea. I like that. I like, kind of very pithy people and that kind of wit, but it's not for everybody. It was also on Netflix, though I think it was on network television before it was on Netflix. And then movies. I did a blitz of Midsummer Mysteries because unfortunately the on-demand went off of Netflix as of October 1st. So I went through like 2.5 seasons. And each episode is an hour and a half, and each season is like 8 episodes. And I did like 2.5 seasons in like 3 weeks. I was just constantly just watching them. Now, I made it through season 13, and there are 19 or 20 seasons, so the rest I'm going to have to get on video, which is much slower because each DVD is just 1 episode. But c'est la vie. It will go intersperse between that and recent movies is what I do. Reading, I'm still reading the Wheel of Time series, which is a epic fantasy novel. I think I'm on book 10 of 14. I'm interspersing these 25 to 35 hour audiobooks with shorter books. So I did finish the last one for Wheel of Time, and like right now I'm listening to a Kathy Reichs book. She did the Bone series, but this is actually not within that series. It's called Two Nights, and it's a new character. She's sort of a former police officer who's doing some PI work, and it's pretty good. I like it. It's read by the same person who reads the Bones books, which not turned me off, but confused me for a second because I associate that voice so much with the Temperance Brennan character, and it took me about 20-25 minutes to separate that and get that voice as this new character. But I'm in it, and that's what I'm reading. I think I'm also going to, for my upcoming trip, try to download a Kindle book or two so I can have that in case I need to read something. Most of what I'm ready and prepping to do is my trip. I am going to be next week heading out with my boyfriend, and we're flying to see my family in Rhode Island. We're going to be there 2 days, and then we are driving to Niagara Falls for 2 days, and then Toronto, and then he flies back from Toronto to LA. I drove back with my family to Rhode Island, and then there one night before I go to Rhinebeck. So I'll be gone about 11 or 12 days. So in preparation for that, I did all my cast-ons and trying to figure out my knitting. I'm going to today be going through recent favorites and trying to come up with a list of some yarn I might want to buy at Rhinebeck. I think I need another sweater 2 quantities for next year. I have a lot of smaller single skeins, but not a lot of sweater quantities. So I'm going to try to pick 1 or 2, maybe more, maybe 2, 3, 4 sweaters that I might want to pick up a sweater quantity for, and then for next year. Also trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Kind of know what I'm going to do in Niagara Falls, but I've been looking and coming up with an itinerary for some stuff to do in Toronto. We're going to be staying in a condo, I think, in the downtown area, and I think I want to do like a food walking tour. So that will be fun. And then I also bought a new suitcase. I have had the same carry-on suitcase for 17, 18, 19 years. And it is still good. It has not failed, but I want one with like the 4 roller wheels. I think I want to go to a hard case. It's a soft case, and I'm getting more and more looks or more and more requests for me to make sure it will fit in the overhead. It always fits in the overhead, but it looks bigger. So I've been looking at bags, and I picked out an e-bag hard case, and this will be its inaugural trip. And it is, I think it's roughly the same size. It might be slightly smaller than my existing carry-on, but it has some better features in terms of compression and things like that. So we'll see. I'm going to just be bringing my carry-on and a over-the-shoulder bag for my luggage, and that's always fun. It's better to travel lighter than heavier, almost always. Of course, if I buy sweater quantities of yarn, I might be shipping a bag back. Or maybe what I probably will do is bring like a packable duffel bag, that if I had to check a bag, because I don't pay to check bags on American because of my credit card with them, that I could do that. So that's probably what I'll do. And yeah, then other upcoming travels, I think I might do another trip back to see my family in November. Short notice, but my dad's birthday is in November, and so we're talking about doing something to kind of basically remember him. So that will be just a pretty quick trip for the weekend. And then the only other definite trip I have planned right now is Rhinebeck. Oh, I've signed up for Zombie Apocalypse for next year. So that's fun. Oh, and I'm going to Stitches West. I forgot. Yeah, Stitches West. I did book a hotel room. I haven't booked any classes or anything yet. I'm not sure. I'm thinking my mom might come with me, but maybe not. I might go up by myself. We'll see. We'll see how it tramps out, but that's kind of what's upcoming. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have today. I hope this video finds everyone having a lovely day wherever you are, doing things that make you happy, whatever they may be. So that's not a wrap. I always forget where to find me. I figured if you're watching the video, you know, but I'm Allison1031 on Ravelry and Instagram, and you can always drop me a private message through Ravelry, or you can send an email to allison1031@gmail.com. All right, that's it. All right, that's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Bye, everybody.